looking at NVIDIA's share price. So previously, NVIDIA obviously made, well, not obviously, but traditionally made graphics cards was their main market. And what they found out was that those graphics cards could be used, their computational power could be used for AI really effectively. So generative AI. So OpenAI or Claude or any sort of generative AI can use these graphics cards really well to generate their answers. And so NVIDIA suddenly found themselves in a position where they're one of the forefront manufacturers of these cards, and they've now pivoted their entire company direction. Obviously still doing traditional graphics cards, but now specifically trying to engineer and build out dedicated AI chipsets for data warehousing. And it's interesting just seeing that what's happened to their share price, which is, skyrocketed completely. It's gone up, I think, like 1,000 or 1,500% or something crazy in the last 2 years, just based on the speculation of where it's going. And all that investment and that share value is all based around their data warehouse, right? That's exactly what it's going to be for, and they're going to invest all that money into data warehousing. So the CEO said earlier this year that the existing $1 trillion of data centers will likely double to $2 trillion for 2030. So they're just building data centers, just thousands and thousands and millions of data centers just packed full of the cards for generative AI, which is a really interesting indication, sort of a market gauge on, they're gauging demand for this, right? They can see that their perspective is that this is just going to grow, and they're just massively investing into it. And when there's, whenever you sort of see, concerns around bubbles, people aren't investing into NVIDIA based on that, like their OpenAI, for instance, and they can generate, actual AI generative answers. That's not what's actually they're being invested in. People are investing into it for the future vision of where they can see AI even going and actual foundations to support it. And it's interesting too that Microsoft and OpenAI are planning to build a data center. It's estimated to cost more than $100 billion to begin running in 2028. Wow. So they want to try and actually reduce their reliance on NVIDIA and build out their own data centers around this. And so huge sort of move there too, which is absolutely crazy. So if anyone's wondering if generative AI is a bubble, that's definitely one way to look at it and go, well, definitely the amount of money being invested into it is not just, it's not just sort of speculation at that point. That's full on, basing your entire company's forward momentum on massive amounts of billions of dollars into it. So just very interesting to see that. At the moment, like, you still have to sort of consider, even though it's not exorbitant, but depending on the number of users you have and how much you want to scale, if you're dealing with 1,000 users, sure, you can put some guardrails, but that's fine. But if you're trying to create something that you feel could be used by hundreds of thousands of users, those costs really do matter. And when you can start seeing those costs go down just based on, better data centers, faster generation too, because at the moment when you ask a question, and it takes like 5 seconds to get back to you and to start generating an answer, that's also computational power, right? And that's shared among a data center. So you're probably placed in a queue before it gets to your answer. There's a lot of that latency is just built around the availability of that compute. And as these bigger data centers come up and they're more localized, like you would get some in South Africa, you would get some, in the UK, they won't just all be, in certain data centers around the world. There'll be more localized. You'll start getting like way quicker responses, especially with things like voice, where it matters even more, where you want that sort of instant return feedback. You don't want to ask a question and wait like a minute for the response to come back to you in voice. So just really, really good practical terms for us. Using it and sort of building out products based on that.
I think I saw something recently where the CEO was presenting where they were going with the company. It's something to do with their architecture. I don't know if you saw anything around that, but it seemed like they were redesigning their architecture for their chipsets and everything to work in a certain way and more efficiently. And I'm curious as to how much farther are they ahead of AMD and some of these other competitors? Are they even going to be able to catch up? I don't know if they're going to start, being able to poach their employees. AMD is able to poach, NVIDIA's employees for absorbent amount of money to bring them over. Same with Microsoft. I'm curious about how those AI wars are going to heat up between employees and companies.